It'd be great, though, wouldn't it, if what happened that night were to be the hallmark of the Colin Lee era at Watford, because people will think back. I mean, the Glyn Hodges goal was voted goal of the season. So much happened that night that was so good.
Yes, I think that obviously I'm very determined to try and succeed here at Watford. I'm very grateful for the opportunity they've given me. I didn't dream at all about the way that things have worked out, but now they have worked out that way. I can assure you that I'll be trying all I can to make this club and to take it back to where I believe it belongs.
As the weeks wore on, one of the most pleasing aspects, I'm sure, for you was the fact that at home the goals were going in, because you followed that up with Ipswich, where I'm sure one or two, even perhaps one or two Watford fans felt perhaps that there were a couple of times where these points aren't going to come Watford's way, and to show that the spirit, even in that game, was another big plus, I would guess.
Yes, I mean, the Ipswich game was a game in which, in a way, showed the character we have got at the club. It's something which I believe, if we can improve on the character, the commitment and everything else, that that's the way in which we'll gain success here. It also gave me an opportunity to introduce one of my younger players in that game, in Gerald Harrison, who equipped himself very well to that game. You know, the Ipswich game was a game of sort of ups and downs, really. We felt that, you know, the decision on one goal went against us, and at one stage we were 2-0 down. That was at half-time, but we still felt in that game that we were going to get something out of it. And as you saw in the second half, it really showed what commitment was about, and I was extremely pleased with the result in the end.
When Ipswich Town visited Vicarage Road, they were still in with a chance of reaching the playoffs, and we were treated to a 6-goal thriller involving 2 penalties.
Henrice, and that was surely a handball, was it? And the referee says penalty. Well, I must say, my view was that it was a penalty from up here. The line seemed to be about 2 metres away. Referee Durkin looked and gave. And it will be Glyn Hodges with the chance to put Watford back into contention. 55 minutes gone. Hodges against Forest, and Watford get one back. Hodges. That's a lovely floated ball for Penrice. Can he find something here, or was he brought down? He was. Watford have a second penalty. Hodges, and it's 3-2. So twice he scores from the spot, and Watford may yet have their chance of getting some reward. Faulkner. Now, what sort of a ball is that? Penrice is in the clear. It was a glorious ball by Faulkner. Faulkner, Penrice, what did he do? He's got it! Watford are back at 3-3. Gary Penrice has got it, and the whole stadium erupts.
If I were to say to you that the games under your management at the end of the season were the platform on which next season we must build, would you think that's a fair description?
Yes, I think that, you know, the 10 games gave me an opportunity to assess what is required here. Obviously, there will have to be a lot of wheeling and dealing in the transfer market to enable me to put into practice what I've got in mind. That might mean that certain players will have to leave. It's the only way to make this club work how I would like it to work.
Our FA Cup run in 89-90 was not particularly memorable, except for one superb goal from Glenn Roeder.
Queuing up, Penrice, and that's a corner. Richardson, Henry, will he tee himself up? Porter. Judged by Hughes. And it was over. Wilkinson, Hughes and Henry. Hodges, Penrice, Hodges again, Roeder. Now, oh my word, what a moment to choose for his first goal for his club. Superb strike, just as I was saying, at the possibility of replays. The skipper leads by example. Richardson, and where's that going to end up, I wonder? Hodges, Porter, Hodges, and that's gone in, and Hodges got it. I think it will go down as Hodges' goal, although Wilkinson made sure.
Sheffield United ended our short cup run with a victory in the replay at Vicarage Road.
Again, Williams charged him down. Bryson's got a third chance here, and Coton made the sharp save. Given the penalty, and they are all off to the linesman, but the referee looked across and Watford have the penalty. The push was by Hill, I think, it was on Gary Penrice, and it is Gary Porter if he can find the penalty spot. The referee looked across. Linesman Graham Butland had no doubts. So, Watford with a chance to equalise. Tracy on the 6-yard box protesting. Referee Ken Redfern. Speaks now to Tracy. And this is not as easy taking penalties as it would be on a very good surface. Porter and scores! Watford have an equaliser. 38 minutes gone. Thompson left it for Henry. Henry wants to tee himself up and does! And it came off the post. Here's Porter. Beautifully drilled through for Henry. Henry tries and scores, but it's offside. It won't count.
Having come through the youth rank yourself here, how pleasing was it to see the emergence of some more young talent, particularly at the back? David Holsworth, Barry Ashby, Jason Drysdale, that you played alongside and who surely will get better with the experience of having played in the side this season.
I think it's good. With a club like Watford, we're never going to be able to compete with the big clubs with big signings, so it's important for a very good youth setup, and Watford, fortunately, we have. And as you said, we've got some more young players coming through, and hopefully some in the future.
A man arrived at this club in November who's become an extremely good friend of yours, in Gary Penrice. What difference do you think his arrival's made to Watford?
A big difference, really. Obviously, he's a good player, but his enthusiasm has spread throughout the club, really, and which we needed at the time. He came in at a bad time. We'd had a bad run of defeats, and it changed it for a little while. Unfortunately, we couldn't keep that going, and it typified the season. We was very up and down and very inconsistent.
Sunderland, a side who were to eventually earn promotion through controversial means, were the only visitors to Vicarage Road in February, and a superb-headed goal from Rod Thomas was enough to at least earn us a point from their visit.
If I suggested to you that one of the things that you've learnt this season is that however good a footballer you are, there's no substitute for experience, would that be a fair comment?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Obviously you need the games under your belt, and the more games under your belt, the better player you come, because obviously you're put in more positions as every player is.
As we go through the season, started with that victory against Portsmouth. One of the key moments perhaps for you was on a Tuesday night, I think it was the middle of October.
Yeah.
and everybody was bitterly disappointed at the thought of 3 points going to the south coast against Bournemouth. And then up pops a certain David Holdsworth.
Yeah,
Do you still remember it well?
Yeah, it was just with a sequence of corners coming over, and Hodges, I think, put his left foot and he's hit it high, and I just rose, and it took ages to go in, a looping header. It was very pleasing.
You must have realised when you put it in that it wasn't very much longer to go.
No, obviously it was like a last golf thing, and the wheel went up, and it was one of the things that just met the ball early.
To his corner, Payton stayed on his line, hasn't got Holdsworth, and it's gone in the net! It's gone in the net by David Holdsworth, and at the death, Watford have squared it at 2-2.
It had been a season up until then which had promised so much from your point of view. Is it that much harder to take when you'd been an ever-present and you had felt very much that things looked as though they might be running your way?
Yeah, I would say so. Certainly things were going well. From a personal point of view, I was playing probably some of my best football just before I did get injured. And obviously the last game I sort of virtually played in here was against Leeds United, and everybody knows the result of that. We went and beat them 1-0.
And I can't remember now who it was who supplied Rod Thomas with the ball.
Yeah, I can't remember either, no.
Porter, and the long ball for Thomas, and he's beaten the trap. Thomas, he's on a one-to-one with Day. Has he done it right? Has he done it right? He has done it right, and Watford take the lead. He just waited until he had the right opportunity, robbed the advancing Mervyn Day. It seemed like to take an eternity.
And as well as goal supplier, you've also been goal scorer this season, and one will think back to Bradford.
Yeah.
Just talk us through that. I mean, that must have been as pleasing a goal as you've scored on this ground, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the majority of goals I've scored recently seem to have been penalties. But that particular day, the team we played very well. And from what I remember of it, I think it was a goalkeeper's kick or a long clearance from defence. Paul's flicked it on, and I've got in behind and just sort of hit it as it dropped. And nice to see it fly in the back of the net.
And they are left foot. Do you score many with your right foot? I mean, people think that you are a left-footed player.
I think I might have done once, probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I can't remember, it's that long ago.
You don't mind, I mean, presumably where they go from, as long as they end up in the back of the net, right, that's what it's all about.
Every goal scorer, anybody who scores a goal will tell you it doesn't matter how it goes in.
Holdsworth. This is Porter. And it's 3! Oh, amazing scenes! Absolutely amazing scenes here. It's gone outside.
Blackburn Rovers did eventually reach the playoffs, but they earned nothing from their visit to Vicarage Road at the end of March.
Still Hodges. Goalkeeper's out of his area, and Wilkinson makes him pay for it. Points to the corner flag. It's 2 attempts in, and finally at the 3rd attempt by David Holdsworth, Watford get their 2nd goal. Wilkinson's header. And Penrice has won it. Now, Gello advances. Penrice goes on and scores. And the delightful wave and the predatory instincts of Gary Penrice.
One man